Hey everybody, this is Rich Fontaine with Daily Motivation. Just would like to give it a quick second, but before we begin, we've just finalized. We had some issues with our print shop, but we've just finally got the final copy of our Right to Grow Rich Step-by-Step Guide. The Right to Grow Rich Step-by-Step Guide is a guide that actually leads you through the whole entire writing and publishing process, step by step. So if you go through the entire guide one by one, you can produce your book easily and very simply by just going step by step and following the guides all the way down and show you how to write, all the way to the formatting, to the marketing, and also to the publication, which I'll show you here. Just a quick one before we begin. Shows you, I show you even how I did my Destiny on Purpose. I show you step by step how the website looks and exactly how to publish and format and market your book. So please check out, if you go to my website, thewealthyauthor.com, you can purchase one of these or just message me to get a discount price for this awesome step-by-step guide. So today I want to talk about one of my favorite books. My favorite books of all time is Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power, which many people misunderstood this book. It's not really about power over somebody else, but it's power over yourself, which leads to power over any situation. It's a way of thinking and a way of being in order to create the reality that you want. Hey Miriam, thank you for watching. Now, Law 15 is one of my favorite laws because it's one of my principles that I live by on my own, which is crush your enemies totally. Now, I don't have enemies. Regardless if you like me or don't like me, I don't ever consider anyone an enemy. I feel like the only enemy I have is myself, and the only competition I have is myself. And I know if I can defeat me, I'm going to be perfectly fine. So it's not really about other people, but it's about myself. So I don't really have truly any enemies whatsoever. But what I do understand is there's some people that are very prideful, are very egotistical. They say pride comes before the fall. And people think, hey, if they're of a certain status, they have certain leverage, or they try to hold things over your head, especially if you're their partner, and they say, oh, well, hey, you know, I have this part of your business in the palm of my hand, so I can hold it against you. And what happens is, that is the worst way to think. It's people that rest on their laurels, and it's those who rest on their laurels get crushed the first and mostly. It reminds me of a story of J.D. Rockefeller. He had to deal with all the train stations leaving out of Ohio through New York and through the country. And one day he owned 70% of the oil that was on those trains was owned by J.D. Rockefeller. Now the trains got greedy. They said, well, hey, he needs us more than we need him, they thought. So he needs us. So they said, hey, let's raise his taxes, raise his fees, and say, okay, J.D., if you want to use our trains, then you must pay our fee and pay the taxes that we put on you. Now, JD being the man that he is, the greats, when they reach obstacles, they don't think failure. They don't think weakness. They don't think, okay, I need to concede to somebody else. They think, okay, if that's the game you want to play, then let's play. And they have less remorse over it because they're like, listen, I fulfilled everything I had to do my end of the bargain. I did everything I was going to say. You started this game. I didn't start the game, you did. Everything was working fine until you got cocky, until you got gassed, until you felt that you had leverage over me. Until that point, we were fine. Now that you want to play this, hey, I'm bigger than you, I'm better than you game, that's perfectly fine, let's play. And so he said, okay, fine. You know what? How about take all of my oil off your trains? And he created the first oil rig, which is a pipeline underneath the ground, all the way from his manufacturer stations all the way throughout the country. He was the very first person to do this. So he invented the oil rigs and oil pipelines and sent these pipelines all over the country. And doing that, he didn't need their trains anymore. But the train stations actually had to file for bankruptcy, and many of them shut down. Andrew Carnegie's mentor owned a train station in Philadelphia and had to shut the whole thing down, and completely bankrupt, and died broke. And died broke. All from a game that he was trying to play that he should never have played. I think of Google. I think of Yahoo. When Google first went to Yahoo, they said, "Hey, I have this great opportunity where we can do different types of search engines." And Yahoo says, "All right, little guys." They just saw them as little college kids. They didn't take them serious. They said, "Okay, little guys, that's fine. You know, you can start your little school project, but we're good." Or they said, "Well, we'll do it," but they try to charge them for the bare minimum. So instead of, again, greats don't think of, okay, let's stop. Great thinks, okay, how can we move around? So he said, okay, that's fine. If that's the game they want to play, we'll do it ourselves. And then end up crushing Yahoo. Who uses Yahoo still? Every time you want to use Google. Same thing for Blockbuster. When Redbox came to Blockbuster and said, "Hey man, you should put your videos in vending machines." They said, "Okay, little guy, yeah, sure. You know, we'll think about that later." And he said, "Okay, that's perfectly fine." Redbox completely crushed Blockbuster, and now Blockbuster doesn't exist anymore. So you have to ask yourself, are you high and mighty? Do you think that you don't have, because you might be creating silent enemies without you even knowing. The silent enemies are the ones that's the worst to have, because they are always, you may not know how personal you may have touched them. They said, "Okay, that's fine. That's the game you want to play. Now I'm going to crush you." Michael Jordan had a list of people. Every time somebody compared him, every time somebody else got an MVP, every time there was a new player that came on the scene that people were roaring about, he said, "Okay, he's on my list." Why? Because he wanted to show them that I got to separate myself. I want to crush anyone and everyone that's in my way that you consider competition. Because again, he said, there is no competition for me. I am my own competition. But anyone you think is competition, I'm coming for. Why? Because I want to show everyone there is no competition. And I know some people, they have Rich Fontaine. Oh, I've had a buddy of mine, Farouk, the other day. It was like, you have such an innocent smile, You see something so bubbly, Rich. I'm like, yeah, no problem. But he says that because he doesn't really know me. He doesn't know I'm a wolf. Yeah, I might have a smile, I might have a cheek. I'm a hyena. That's even worse, Yeah, they sound funny, they look cute, but they're completely ferocious. Completely ferocious. I grew up in a place where you had to be tough. Many people say, "Oh yeah, man, I grew up in a tough environment." I'm like, yeah, okay. I've been chased off the bus. I've had 17 kids run up in my house to jump me. I've crossed the street from the bodega just having a little ice cream, Little Debbie. I'm like 12 years old, and I got hit with a metal pole from some dudes that lived up the street. I've been chased on my bike. I mean, you have no idea. So it built a tough exterior and interior within me. And I know that there's a wolf there. So creating enemies, all the thing I do when somebody says, "Hey Rich, you can't do this," or "Hey Rich, you can't have this," or "Hey Rich, I'm gonna hold this against you," or "Hey, yes, we're supposed to be partners, but I'm not gonna hold my end of the bargain." I said, "Okay, that's perfectly fine. That's the game you want to play. We can play that game." It doesn't mean much to me because I know my trajectory. I know where I'm going. And I keep the mindset of that. And I always see the vision of where I'm going. So if you become competition, if that's the game you want to play, my whole MO is to put my foot on the neck and never let go. I don't have enemies. But if you want to be that competition with anyone, especially somebody like me with my mindset, I will crush enemies totally. With no remorse. And it's not something to be like, "Oh, that's messed up," or that's mean, or that's vindictive. It has nothing to do with vindictive. It's, hey, anything that's stopping you from reaching your major purpose and your major goal has to be eradicated completely. Completely. And enemies could be your bad habits. Enemies could be your bad thoughts. Enemies could be your inability to do things. Enemies could be the excuses that you have. Whatever it is that's holding you back, you must crush it totally. Eradicate it. Destroy it. Press the button. Push the button on those things that are holding you back, because that's your enemy from your goal. And when you can crush your enemies, it doesn't matter if it's competition, if it's another person, if it's another group, if it's another team, if it's your own self, make sure you eradicate it totally. Why? Because anything that's holding you from your purpose is your enemy. And you must crush that enemy totally. Do not let anyone or anything be the reason why you don't reach your goal. Never. Never. Let anyone or anything be the reason you do not approach and reach your goal. If something's in your way, if there's a wall in your way, you get the C4. You get the C4 and eradicate it completely. And don't feel bad about it. Don't say, man, maybe I should have been nicer. Man, maybe we should have talked about it. No. Yes, if you could talk about it, great. But don't if they're in your way, if something's in your way, eradicate it totally. Again, this is Rich Fontaine. Either you could agree with me or not agree with me. But either way, I feel this was a successful conversation. Please like, please share, please comment, and know that there's nothing in your way except you. And if it's anything or anyone in your way, you be that freight train. You be that unstoppable object. And go harder. Go harder. Be like J.D. Rockefeller. Don't let them say, hey, we control you. Say, I control me. And then you just disappear. Again, this is Rich Fontaine. Either you agree with me or not agree with me. But either way, I feel this was a successful conversation. Love is love. I appreciate all of you.